A. Dan Sach Loi Fat Hien. Fan 1, Lo Hung Logic, Daniel, Gi Kuok Goi de Ket Tuk, and Hung Ban Ghi Van Thursday Doak Kuok Tro Chien Qua Daniel Va Melissa Machua Jai Tik Duong De Van Konamo. Somehow, after Daniel thought the call had ended, the recording kept running. Sua Ton Daniel Tuong Den Gat Mai and Hung Duong De Van Ket Noi, Evelyn Dang De Loa Nguai Va Voice Note Teep Tuc Thursday M Ton Tu Loa. Fan 1, Not Chuan Mok Thoi John / Bang Chung, File Di 11 Foot 38 Ga, Evelyn Noi De Ne Dung 6 Foot and Hung Koi Fan Lai Con 5 Foot 31 Ga, Hai Con So Lek 7 Ga. I had only listened to 6/5 minutes and 31 seconds remained. Sua Ton, a little over 6 minutes, De Kop Voi 531 Con Lai. Fan 2, Lap 2, Kum Nan, Same, Zut Hien Ba Lon Lin Teep Trong Kung Mot Nip Cam Suk. Same words. Same low voice. Same slight rasp, Ju Hai Lon Dao, Doi Lon Thursday Ba Ton Mot Ka Tu Nin Han. Fan 3, Not Chuan Hien Tuong / Bang Chung, Dong Ho De Dung O 213 and Hung Van Doak Mo Tala Fat Ra Tiang Tich Tak, Part 6 Lai Zak Din Pin De U Roy and Gung Han. The faint ticking sound my brass clock should not have been making, Sua Ton Su Im Lang Noi Tiang Tich Tak Lu Ra Phi Ko. Fan 3, 4, 5, Lo Hong Logic / Not Chuan Bang Chung. Tiang Ba Nip Go Va Tiang Non Kio Ban Dao by Dat Ben Trong Ban Ghi Kuok Goi Qua Daniel, and Hung Part 4 Lai Cho Thay Chung Thuok Kak File Cu Arthur Lu Trong Thiet by Qua Dong Ho. Part 5 Teep Tuc Fat Ba Nip Go Nu The Chung Nam Trong Ban Ghi Gok. Sua Part 3 De Mot File Cu 7 Ga Doak 2 Dong Import Riang. Part 4 Zak Nan File Thursday Ba Tren The Chua Dung M Ton Du. Part 5 Bo Ba Nip Go Koi Ban Ghi Kuok Goi Gok. Fan 4, 6, Not Chuan Bang Chung, Part 4 Goi Vat Sao Dong Ho La, Tiny Memory Card, Trong Kai Part 6 Lai Goi La, Wireless Memory Module, Tau Kem Giak De La Hai Thiet by Kok Now. Sua Part 4 Ton Mot Wireless Memory Module Co Removable Memory Card, Part 6 Goi Lai Dung Kung Thiet by. Fan 4, Nip Cam Suk Tut / Jong Van Lek Tong, Don Jai Tik Ky Thuat V, Older Wireless Storage Devices, Qua Ko Va Lam Jiam Suc Tsong Nai Jua Bukengot. Viet Gon Lai Theo Gok Nin Evelyn, Claire Chi Jai Tik Thiet by Ko The Tu Sink Kai Pinu, Con Su Trung Hop 213 Van Chua Doak Ly Jai. Fan 4, Lo Hong Logic Fap Ly. Ka, Harold immediately placed additional restrictions on everything I owned, Keen Lut Su Ko Ve Tu Min Ko Gwin Qua Tai Koan Qua Evelyn. Sua Ton Evelyn U Ka, Con Harold Va Claire Ho Tiaro Ba Dat Han Che Bao Mat. Fan 4, 5, Not Chuan Bang Chung, Part 4 Noi Zak Nan Den 2, a phone connected to Daniel's household, Part 5 Lai Noi Den 2, Daniel's home internet connection. Chuan Hoa Ton, a device using Daniel's home internet connection. Fan 5, Lo Hong Logic, Melissa Hoy, where did you get that? Kai Thay Thursday Arthur, Vo Tin Cho Thay Ko De Beat La Thursday Tun Tai De Trian Chua He Thiet Lap Du Du. Sua Ton, what is that? Fan 5, 6, Not Chuan Hien Tuong, Part 5 Noi Dong Ho Van Fong Harold, had no chime setting, and Hung Part 6 Lai Jai Tik Bang Emotico Che Chuang / Alarm Ben Trong. Hai Chi Teep Mao Thuan Truck Teep. Sua Part 5 Ton Harold De Nu Nam Kong Ne Dong Ho Ku, Part 6 Jai Tik Mot Teep Diem Long Trong Mak Chuang Cu Ko The Kich Hot Tiang Thursday Bat Chot. Fan 3, 4, 6, Jai Ma Hien Tuong Siu Nin Chua Tron Ven. Non Kio Tuamo Va Chuang 213 Chua Ko Loi Jai Hop Ly, Trong Kai Part 6 Tuen Bo Tsong Ne Jai Tik Gon Numwa Thursday. Bo Sung Chi Teet Non Kio Che Tren Ton Go Tsong Ko The Tu Truat Ra Va Mak Chuang Cu Ko Teep Diem Long, Van Ju Su Trung Hop Dung 213 Nu Duam Huin Bi Ne, Kong Bien Ton Lo Hong Logic. Kong fat hien loi kan suave 10/quan he nan vat, kak mok thoi john lon, kak so tien chin, du dai theo chuan 500 to 752, cliffhanger qua part 1 to 5, hok koan kok kam suk riang 2 o koi part 6. B. Ban trian da sua hon chin. My son was spending my money before I was even gone, and the worst part was hearing how calmly he did it. At 2:13 in the morning, I sat alone at my kitchen table in Columbus, Ohio, staring at my phone while Daniel's voice played through the speaker. If we keep the place under $500,000, Mom's money should cover the down payment. Then Melissa answered, smooth as ever. Not just the down payment. Once the investment account is released, we'll have plenty left. I felt something inside me go still. Not angry. Not yet. Just cold. I was 72 years old, fully capable of paying my own bills, driving my own car, and deciding what happened to every dollar Arthur and I had spent 40 years saving. Yet my son and his wife were discussing my money as if I had already become a memory. I had not meant to record them. Earlier that evening, Daniel had called to ask how I was feeling. He sounded gentle. Concerned. The kind of voice a mother wants to trust. I had been testing a voice note feature on my phone because my neighbor, Susan Miller, told me it helped her remember grocery lists and doctor appointments. I had Daniel on speaker while I tested it. Somehow, he thought the call had ended, but the line stayed open, and the voice note kept capturing what came through the speaker. 11 minutes and 38 seconds. That was the length of the file. I had only listened to a little over 6 minutes. In those 6 minutes, Melissa talked about a lake house, Daniel mentioned paying off debt, and together they laughed about the SUV she wanted. Every number came from money that still belonged to me. What unsettled me most was how specific they were. They knew figures I had never told them. The balance of my brokerage account. The estimated value of my house. Even the amount Arthur had left in a separate investment fund. I kept telling myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe Daniel was speaking hypothetically. Maybe Melissa was guessing. Maybe grief had made me suspicious. Then the old brass clock over the stove stopped. Arthur had bought that clock on our 20th anniversary, and in 32 years, it had never stopped unless the battery died. The second hand froze at 2:13. The exact minute I had started listening. I stared at it longer than I should have. Arthur used to joke that old houses remembered more than people did. I never believed that. Not really. But sitting there in the dark, with my husband's clock frozen above me and my son's voice filling the room, I suddenly felt as though something was warning me not to stop listening. I did anyway. At sunrise, Daniel knocked on my front door carrying a white bakery box and wearing the same soft smile he had used since childhood whenever he wanted something. Morning, Mom, he said. I thought we could talk this weekend about simplifying your finances. Nothing complicated. Just planning ahead. I looked at my son and wondered how much of the man standing in front of me was still the boy I had raised. I smiled. I thanked him for the pastries. And I said nothing about the recording. That night, after Daniel left, I opened the file again. 5 minutes and 31 seconds remained. I moved my thumb toward the play button. Before I touched it, I noticed something I had missed the night before. Beneath the recording was a second file. Recorded automatically. Only 14 seconds long. The timestamp read 2:13 a.m. And the voice in it was not Daniel's. It was Arthur's. I did not press play right away. My thumb hovered over the screen while the kitchen seemed to shrink around me. 14 seconds. That was all. 14 seconds carrying the name of a man I had buried nearly 2 years earlier after a sudden heart condition took him from our home and left me learning how to sleep on one side of a king-size bed. I told myself the file had to be corrupted. Maybe an old recording had resurfaced. Maybe I had labeled it wrong months ago. There were ordinary explanations for strange things, and Arthur had always been the practical one between us. So I pressed play. At first there was only static. Then I heard 3 soft taps. Arthur used to tap the kitchen table exactly that way when he was thinking. After that came a breath, faint but unmistakable, and then a voice so familiar my chest tightened before my mind could reject it. "Evelyn, don't sign it." That was all. The recording ended. I sat frozen with both hands around the phone. I played it again. Then a third time. Same words. Same low voice. The slight rasp Arthur had developed in his final years was there too. I wanted to cry, but something stronger than grief held me still. The warning was too specific. Sign what? Daniel had only mentioned simplifying my finances. Nothing had been put in front of me yet. The next morning, I drove 6 miles to see Harold Bennett, the attorney Arthur had trusted for more than 20 years. Harold's office sat above a small insurance agency near downtown Columbus, filled with old legal books and framed photographs of Ohio State football teams. I did not tell him about Arthur's voice. Not yet. I only told him Daniel wanted to help organize my accounts. Harold leaned back in his chair and asked whether Daniel had mentioned a power of attorney. I said no. Then his expression changed. 2 weeks earlier, someone claiming to be Daniel's financial advisor had called Harold's office asking how authority over my brokerage account could be transferred if I wanted help managing it. My account held just over $900,000. I had never discussed that number with Daniel. Harold asked me one simple question. Has anyone had access to your paperwork at home? Melissa's face appeared in my mind immediately. 3 months earlier, she had spent an afternoon helping me sort Arthur's old files. Tax records. Bank statements. Investment folders. I remembered being grateful. I remembered making coffee while she worked alone in the study. That afternoon suddenly felt different. Harold told me not to sign anything until he reviewed it. I promised I wouldn't. When I got home, a FedEx envelope was waiting beside my front door. Daniel's handwriting was on the label. Inside were 8 pages with yellow signature tabs already attached. The first page said financial authorization. The last page contained language I did not understand. I carried the packet into the kitchen and set it beneath Arthur's stopped brass clock. It still read 2:13. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Daniel appeared. "Mom, those papers are routine. Melissa already filled everything out for you. Just sign where she marked." Before I could answer, another notification appeared from an address I did not recognize. It was an automated alert from my brokerage company. Someone had requested a change to the contact information on my investment account 43 minutes earlier. And the new phone number ended in 4 digits I knew by heart. They belonged to Melissa. Melissa's number sat on my screen like a fingerprint. For several seconds, I could hear nothing except the refrigerator humming behind me and the silence where the brass clock's ticking should have been. Its hands were still frozen at 2:13. I called Harold immediately. He told me not to touch the papers Daniel had sent and not to call either of them until he checked the brokerage request. By noon, he had arranged for Claire Donovan, a forensic financial consultant he trusted, to meet us at his office. Claire was in her early 40s, calm, precise, the kind of woman who could make a stack of bank records feel like a confession. She pulled up the account history and showed me 3 things I had never authorized. First, someone had attempted to replace my primary contact number with Melissa's. Second, a draft form listed Daniel as my trusted financial contact. Third, an incomplete transfer instruction had been created for an amount that made my stomach tighten. $75,000. It had not gone through. Not yet. Claire said whoever started it had enough personal information to answer several identity verification questions correctly. My social security number was not visible, but my address history, account number, and security details had been entered without mistakes. "This didn't come from guessing," she said. I thought about Melissa sitting alone in Arthur's study 3 months earlier, sorting papers while I made coffee. I thought about how often she had praised me for being organized. Harold asked whether I wanted to confront them. I said no. Something inside me had changed. I was hurt, but I was no longer confused. I wanted to know how far they had already gone. That evening, Daniel invited me to dinner at their house in Dublin, about 12 miles from mine. I went. Melissa served roast chicken and spoke gently about how exhausting it must be for me to manage the house by myself. Then, while pouring iced tea, she said, "With more than 900,000 sitting in investments, you shouldn't have to worry about paperwork anymore." She froze for half a second. So did Daniel. I had never told either of them that number. I smiled and changed the subject. On the drive home, my hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind was not. At a grocery store parking lot, I opened the 11-minute recording again. I listened beyond the point where I had stopped before. Daniel's voice came first. "Mom still has to sign at the end, right?" There was a pause. Then Melissa answered, quieter than before. "Not for everything." My skin prickled. I stopped the recording before Daniel could respond. As the screen returned to the file list, another imported audio file appeared beneath Arthur's 14-second message. 7 seconds long. I had not noticed it before. I pressed play. 3 taps. The same 3 taps from Arthur's warning. Then came a drawer sliding open, the scrape so familiar I knew it instantly. Arthur's desk drawer in the study had always dragged against the wood frame. I drove home without stopping anywhere else. The house was dark when I entered. The study door was standing open. I knew I had closed it that morning. Arthur's desk drawer was pulled out 6 inches. Inside, beneath a stack of old tax folders, lay a sealed envelope I had never seen before. My name was written across the front in Arthur's handwriting. Under it were 4 words that made my knees weaken. "If Daniel asks you to sign." I stood in Arthur's study holding that envelope for nearly a full minute before I opened it. The drawer beneath my hand rested on a warped wooden runner Arthur used to complain about. It could creep open on its own if it was not pushed firmly shut. That gave me one ordinary explanation for what I had found, though not for the timing. The paper inside was yellowed slightly at the edges, and his handwriting was steady, the way it always was when he wanted me to take something seriously. He wrote that if Daniel ever came to me with financial papers I did not fully understand, I was to call Harold before signing anything. Then came the sentence that changed everything. Arthur had been worried about Melissa long before he died. He had noticed her asking questions about our investments, our insurance, even the deed to the house. He never accused her of anything directly because he had no proof, and because Daniel loved her. But Arthur had prepared for the possibility that one day I might need a warning from him more than comfort. At the bottom of the letter he wrote, "Check the back of the kitchen clock." My hands trembled as I carried the letter downstairs. The brass clock still showed 2:13. I lifted it from the wall and turned it over. Behind the battery cover was a tiny wireless memory module with a removable card, taped beneath a strip of masking tape. Arthur's handwriting was on that too. For Evelyn. Harold came over that evening with Claire Donovan. Claire removed the card and inserted it into her laptop. There were 6 audio files on it, recorded nearly 3 years earlier. The first was Arthur testing the microphone. The second was the 14-second message I had heard on my phone. "Evelyn, don't sign it." The third contained the same 3 taps and the scrape of his study drawer from the 7-second file that had appeared on my phone. Suddenly the voice was no longer impossible. Arthur had recorded it himself. Claire said the little module had been designed to sync files to a nearby phone and that a failing battery could make it reconnect unpredictably. That explained how Arthur's recordings reached me. It did not explain why they surfaced at exactly 2:13, the moment I needed his warning most. I decided I did not need an answer. Arthur had left me something better than a ghost. He had left me preparation. The remaining recordings were more troubling. In one, Arthur described Melissa asking whether Daniel would automatically control my accounts if something happened to him. In another, he mentioned finding copies of financial statements missing from his desk. He had suspected someone was studying our assets. But he still had no proof. Claire did. The next morning she traced the incomplete $75,000 transfer request. It had been created through an online portal using information from my accounts. At my request, Harold and Claire helped me place additional restrictions on every account they could secure that morning. Then Claire found the destination. The money was not being sent to Daniel's checking account. It was going to a company called M.W. Lake Holdings LLC, registered in Ohio only 6 weeks earlier. The registered agent was Melissa Whitmore. My stomach dropped, but Harold told me there was more. The transfer required a second identity confirmation before it could be completed. Someone had already attempted that confirmation from a device using Daniel's home internet connection. I wanted to believe Melissa had done it alone. I needed to believe that. Then Claire turned her laptop toward me. The verification request had included a digital authorization name. 2 words appeared on the screen. Daniel Whitmore. Daniel Whitmore. I stared at my son's name until the letters blurred. Harold asked if I wanted to stop. I said no. I had spent too many years protecting Daniel from hard truths. This one belonged to me. Claire pulled up the verification history. The request had come from Daniel's home internet connection at 9:46 p.m. 3 nights earlier. Daniel had entered his own name. He had answered security questions. He had clicked continue. The transfer failed only because the brokerage required one final confirmation from my registered phone. My phone. The one Melissa had tried to replace with hers. Harold called Daniel and told him to come to his office immediately. Melissa came with him. She walked in composed. Daniel looked pale. I placed the 8-page authorization packet on the conference table. Then Harold placed Arthur's letter beside it. Melissa's expression changed for the first time. "What is that?" she asked. I said nothing. Claire opened the account records. Harold explained the LLC. The $75,000 transfer. The phone number change. The digital authorization. Daniel looked at Melissa. "You said it couldn't move without Mom signing." Melissa answered too quickly. "It didn't move." That sentence told me more than any apology could have. Daniel turned toward me. "Mom, I thought we were setting things up for later." Later. Such a small word. Such an ugly meaning. I opened the original 11-minute recording on my phone. This time, I played the final 5 minutes in front of everyone. Melissa's voice filled the room. She described moving money into the LLC in smaller amounts. She said the transfers could look like family investments. Daniel asked whether I would understand what I was signing. Melissa told him I did not need every detail at once. Then came a long silence. Daniel's recorded voice followed. "So we could still put the deposit down before summer?" My son closed his eyes. Melissa stared straight ahead. Claire produced one more document. A spreadsheet recovered from an email attachment Melissa had sent to Daniel 6 weeks earlier. Lake House down payment, $180,000. Debt payoff, $61,400. Vehicle, $54,000. Reserve, $100,000. At the top was the file name. After Evelyn. I felt something inside me settle. Not break. Settle. Daniel whispered that he never meant to steal from me. I asked him why he was budgeting money I still owned. He had no answer. Melissa did. We were planning for the future. I looked at her. No. You were planning around my absence. The brass clock in Harold's office suddenly chimed from the wall behind us. Once. Twice. Then stopped. Harold looked confused. He said he had not heard that clock chime in years. Claire checked the time. 2:13 p.m. I felt Arthur beside me without believing he was there. Just a memory. A warning. A hand on my shoulder from another life. Harold then told Daniel there was one final choice. Turn over every email, message, and document connected to Melissa's plan, or let the financial investigation proceed without his cooperation. Daniel stared at his wife. Melissa stared back. Then Daniel reached slowly into his coat pocket, pulled out his phone, and said, "Mom, there's something else you haven't seen. Something Dad sent me before he died." Daniel unlocked his phone with shaking hands and opened an email he had saved for almost 3 years. The sender was Arthur Whitmore. "My husband." The subject line contained only 2 words. "Protect Mom." Daniel said Arthur had sent it after noticing Melissa asking too many questions about our accounts. He had never shown me because, at the time, he thought his father was being overly cautious. Then he read it aloud. Arthur told Daniel that inheritance was not money waiting to be collected. It belonged to the living person who had earned it, protected it, and still needed it. He warned Daniel that if anyone ever encouraged him to treat my assets as his future property, he should walk away before greed changed him into someone he would not recognize. Daniel stopped reading. His voice cracked. Melissa said nothing. Then Daniel handed Harold his phone. "Take everything," he said. "Emails. Messages. Documents." He admitted Melissa had created the LLC, but he had known about the lake house plan. He had told himself no money would move until I agreed. Then he helped with the verification anyway. That was the truth I needed. Not because it excused him. Because it ended the pretending. Over the next several weeks, Harold and Claire secured every account. The $75,000 transfer was canceled. The phone number changes were reversed. My estate documents were rewritten with independent verification requirements, and the records involving Melissa's LLC were turned over to the appropriate financial and legal professionals for review. Daniel moved out of the house he shared with Melissa while he decided what came next. I did not ask him to leave her. I did not tell him to stay. For once, I refused to make his choices for him. Then Claire solved the last mystery. Arthur's old brass clock contained the same wireless memory module Claire had found behind the battery cover. He had installed it years earlier to store voice reminders and sync them to a nearby phone. Its battery had weakened, and when my phone connected that night, the module pushed several old files across before the clock finally stopped. The 2:13 timestamp on Arthur's warning belonged to the afternoon he originally recorded it nearly 3 years earlier. The fact that my clock died at 2:13 in the morning was coincidence, at least according to Claire. The warped desk runner explained how the drawer could have slipped open. Technology and old wood explained almost everything. Almost. Harold later found a loose contact in his office clock's dormant chime circuit. It could trigger a brief test chime without warning. That explained the sound at his office, perhaps. It did not explain why it happened at 2:13. Maybe coincidence was enough. I decided not to argue with it. A month later, I drove about 70 miles north toward Lake Erie, to a quiet town Arthur and I used to visit in the fall. I bought a $4.75 coffee and sat on a wooden bench facing the water. Daniel had called twice that week. I answered once. We spoke for 11 minutes. No apologies fixed everything. But for the first time, he asked me how I wanted to live instead of what I planned to leave behind. Before driving home, I opened Arthur's 14-second recording one last time. "Evelyn, don't sign it." I smiled and closed the file. I kept the recording, but I no longer needed the warning. Arthur had protected me once. After that, I learned how to protect myself.